Hey everybody, and welcome to another Q&A, college hacked sort of radio hour where we respond to your questions. Feel free to leave more questions down below. We will get to them, and we want to help you guys get graduated quickly and inexpensively so you can build a career that you love. Today, I'm going to be answering questions with Dr. Lauren Daly, who is also a college hacking professional who has been doing a lot of consultations for you, for clients of College Hacked. And today she's going to help us answer some questions. Welcome to our informal radio hour.
Thanks. Great to be here.
All right. First question. Julian Ralph 445 says, so I just joined the military and my deployment date is in the middle of November. I'm trying to literally get 6 college credits before I go. What would be the quickest option for me to get them? Any ideas?
Yes. I mean, the first thing I think I would ask is, how comfortable do you feel with standardized exams? If the answer is pretty comfortable, then I would say go straight for a CLEP or a DSST, because those are going to be your fastest options. If you're less comfortable with standardized exams, they kind of give you anxiety, maybe you've had some bad experiences in the past, then it would be quicker to go the Sophia route, where you can just sign up and power through the class as quickly as you can.
Yeah, that's really good. And I would even go a step further and say that if you have a subject that you're really confident in, CLEP can be slightly quicker. But if you're slightly less confident, you feel like you need to learn more, like the fastest way to learn the information is probably Sophia. Fastest way to earn the credit, if you already know the information, is CLEP. Basically,
good distinction.
Basically what you said, yeah. Passion, probably saying it wrong. Sorry about that. Pasha Noble 9359. How did you pay for your graduate and postgraduate degrees? And we actually have really similar answers. I think we have the same answer for this. A lot of you guys are here for your undergraduate degree. That's what College Hacked is about. We help people graduate with their bachelor's degree. But we also, you know, every once in a while I like to give some advice about graduate programs, because that's what a lot of you are getting your undergrad for. So Lauren, how did you pay for your master's and doctorate?
Yeah. So I did my master's in biomedical sciences, and I was fortunate enough to be able to be a graduate student assistant during my master's. So it was paid for, full scholarship, and then I also got a stipend. So highly recommend, if you can do something like that, that you find a graduate program at a school that will actually pay for it for you.
Yeah. And then for our doctorates, we both actually got doctorates at the school that we were working at. And so they, as part of like a tuition deal, paid for our doctorates for us, which a lot of you guys can do the exact same thing. A lot of your companies, even if they don't have an actual program where they offer this, maybe you could just go to somebody in HR and be like, hey, would you guys be willing to do something like this? You could be the first one. You could create it. But a lot of times companies want more qualified, more highly trained people, and so they'll actually pay a little bit to make that happen.
You have not because you asked not.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's really good. Miss Desire Independence 5194. Do UMPI or does UMPI charge out-of-state fees for the Your Pace program? And I'll take that one. They do not. It's a flat $1,400 every 8 weeks fee for everybody. Our next question is from Christian Stadler 6099. Hey, Dr. Stemmy and Dr. Daly. I have a question. Currently in the military right now, and DSST and CLEPs are free for the first-time shot in each test. That is something that everybody in the military should know about. Is there a way that I can earn a bachelor's degree in business from a regionally accredited university from just CLEP and DSST? And the answer to that is no. There's not a school out there where you can do it with just CLEPs and DSSTs, but you can get very, very close. Thomas Edison will let you CLEP. You'll be able to apply CLEPs for a large portion of some of their degrees. Their business degree, you're going to have to use some study.com to fill it out. UMPI, you could probably do 60 credits worth of CLEPs and DSSTs. Liberty University, probably 60 credits worth of CLEPs and DSSTs. But in most cases, you're going to have to diversify a little bit. Back when I was college hacking, getting my English degree, I only used CLEPs and DSSTs, and then I got the other 12 credits from Thomas Edison. These days, standards have changed a little bit. Policies have changed a little bit. You are going to have to use something else, but you can get most of the way there with CLEPs and DSSTs. Wayne Dwyer 1326. I already have an AS in business, 60 credits, and just got accepted to Liberty Online. Do you think I can finish my bachelor's by next May? And then he asks, if so, can you help me map it out? By the way, I have no CLEP, Sophia, or Straight Align courses. First off, yes, we can help you map it out. If you go to collegehack.com and sign up for a consultation, we'll help anybody map out their college hacking degree. But Lauren, what do you think? If he's got 60 credits to go and can still hack like 30 of those, is it possible to finish, let's see, he asked us 3 months ago, which would have been like October. Do you think he could finish the rest of his degree in basically 6 months?
Yes, I do think that's possible. I think it's ambitious, but I do think it's possible.
Yeah, if you're taking, if you're going to do the bachelor's, then you're going to need 30 credits in classes from LUO, which will probably take you, if you're really going for it,
2 to 3 terms.
2 to 3 terms, yeah. I agree. Which would be 16 to 24 weeks. And then if you're doing the other 30 credits worth of CLEP, DSST, SophiaStudy.com in the meantime, yeah, you could totally knock that out. But you will have to work pretty hard to get it done. If you do, it is 100% within reach.
What that makes me think of is we've been toying with the idea of doing some accountability sessions for you guys if you wanted to sign up for those. So you should tell us in the comments if you would be interested in signing up for accountability sessions. Because what I think of when I think of managing both of those, the hacking credit and also the university credit, is having a good calendar and being able to set good goals. So tell us if that's something you'd be interested in.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. All right, next question. Justin Kendall Rozenek. Your videos have inspired me to go back to school. I really feel like it's something I can achieve while working full time. That is awesome. I don't know, Lauren, how many hours of work a week do you think a single college class takes? Like back when you were taking your doctoral classes, or when you've seen students doing undergraduate classes, how many hours worth of homework a week do you think they're putting into it, like an 8-week class?
Oh, it's such a broad, good question. I think it really depends on two main things: what the course content is, so what type of course it is, and then also how comfortable you are with that type of material. I know for me, the amount of hours I had to spend on math courses was exponentially larger than the amount of hours that I had to spend on biology courses or things that I was genuinely interested in and kind of more naturally good at. So I think you have to do some personal self-assessment to answer that question a little bit. But I think it's fair to say in general that for a typical 3-hour college course, I'd say, 5 to 6 hours a week. What would you say, Cliff?
Yeah, I would agree with that for the most part. Like you said, there'll be some that are easier. There'll be some that are harder. Yeah. I think statistics was probably taking me 10 hours a week, but basic literary analysis would take me 2 hours a week or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that. I think 5 to 6. So if you can commit to 5 to 6 hours worth of work a week, you can do one class at a time. If you can commit to let's say 2 or 3 hours a day, you're looking at potentially being able to graduate within a year and a half. Yeah. Maybe a max of 2, maybe as fast as 1, depending on the school that you choose. So glad that we could provide the inspiration. Go get it. And actually, Justin asked another really good question around the same time. He said, I'm currently talking to a college who says they accept CLEP, but not Sophia. I asked them why. They told me Sophia is not accredited, but CLEP is. Is this true? If so, what is the difference in the accreditation? If not, is there anything I can do to get them to accept Sophia? So the way that this works is neither of them is accredited. Accredited is totally the wrong word. What they are is American Council on Education will put a vote of confidence usually and say, yeah, CLEP should be worth college credits. Yeah, Sophia should be worth college credits. And I believe that both of them are endorsed, not accredited, but endorsed by ACE. And so I'm not really sure what the college is talking about. Probably what happened is that they were saying that they will give credit for CLEP, but their school will not give credit for Sophia. Anybody can give credit for Sophia. Anybody can give credit for CLEP. It all comes down to the specific college. If you're wanting them to accept your Sophia, you will have to submit an appeal. You'll have to, talk to the registrar, maybe send an email. But these kinds of things take a really long time to process and to get passed through and to get accepted. If they're going to make it an actual policy that Sophia is accepted, it's not really worth it. It's better just to move on to the next college. President Jones 2028 asks me directly a question, but I think you'll really be able to speak into this as well. As a professor to both, with the similarities and differences in online programs, would you prefer UMPI over Liberty? So he's talking about how UMPI is competency-based. Essentially, they throw you in, you do all the homework, the reading and the video watching, and then you have one big homework project at the end, one big essay or video or test or something. And if you pass it, you get college credit. With Liberty, it's a little bit different. If you want to explain like the basic structure there.
Yeah, so there is an actual timetable. So while the classes are asynchronous, which means you don't have to log in at any specific time, you are running on an 8-week time period. So you have weekly assignments that are due, the course is mapped out on a certain time frame that you have to adhere to, which is different than UMPI.
Yeah, and there are a lot of things in the background that makes one of those more preferable than the other, but it really depends on you as a person. If you are an independent learner, you thrive on just going at your own pace, knocking things out as quickly as possible, UMPI is going to fit better with your personal work style. Liberty, on the other hand, if you're worse with deadlines, you have a harder time keeping up, and you really want a little bit more dedicated attention from your professor, Liberty is going to be a better choice. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear that clicking in the background. There's like a windstorm happening right now, and so I know that's distracting, so sorry about that.
Welcome to Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. But with Liberty, better for people who struggle a little bit with accountability and keeping to deadlines. At the same time, UMPI's professors are pretty absent, and you can ask them questions and ask for help, but it kind of feels like going through it on your own. You don't really even interact with any classmates. With Liberty, at least you'll have discussion boards, and so it's maybe a better situation for a social person. That would be my difference between them. Personally, if I was going through it, I'm more of the lone wolf type. I would do UMPI for my undergrad, and then I would go get a master's in person so that I had that social aspect and could talk with people.
Nice. And personally, if I were doing it, I would go through Liberty because I'm kind of the opposite and need that structure I have found over the years. So yeah, makes sense.
Great. I like that split. Ms. Tura, is this a great school for those with learning disabilities? And she was talking about, I believe, Liberty. She says, as most times testing is a difficult task, what school would you recommend for those that cannot test and need or want to write more for final assignments? That is a good question. She wants to avoid as many final exams as possible and do more written assignments, which I think is the opposite for most people. Yeah. I think more people would rather take tests and just knock it out, do a multiple choice instead of having to write an essay. Good gosh. Are there any schools that you've run into since you've been advising that you feel like are a good fit for somebody who wants to do more written assignments?
Man, the written assignments part of it is hard. I mean, I guess I think of UMPI because of the final assignment, kind of cumulative process that they have there. Yeah. But my other thought at the same time, just with the learning disabilities piece of things, is that you're not going to get really any attention or accommodations at a school that doesn't have direct professor input. So if you go somewhere like Liberty University, they have a whole department and system worked out where you apply for accommodations and you get extra time or assistance as needed. You're not going to find something like that with UMPI because there just isn't that same timeline and course interaction. You're kind of working through it at your own pace. So there's kind of two parts to that answer, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. A lot of schools, you could go and find out more about what they offer if you just Google their school name and then disability services. That's typically the department that's in charge of helping people with learning disabilities. I know Liberty, like you said, they have a really robust one, and they do a lot of things and create a lot of accommodations to help people. But if you're going to say, like, I just really want to do more projects and not as many tests, but I want to handle it myself, then, yeah, UMPI might be a good fit. I think that's a really good assessment. Now, this is a great question. No Limit Girl 100. Do companies respect degrees from Liberty University? I don't know, Lauren. Do they? Lauren is really good at getting jobs. If she wants a new job with better pay or with a more exciting situation or different people to work with, basically she just starts applying, and within 2 months she's got like 5 offers.
That's kind.
So yeah, have you had any trouble getting jobs with an LU degree?
I have not, and to add more complexity to the process of trying to get jobs with my undergraduate LU degree, I did interdisciplinary studies, which, as some of you know from Cliff's other videos, basically is a create your own major. So what you're doing
about it in this video?
Yeah, that video. What you're doing is handpicking classes that you want for your major and creating your own thing, but which is great. But then when you go to apply to jobs or maybe graduate schools, you get this question every time: interdisciplinary studies or liberal arts. What does that mean? And this is where you either sink or swim, because if you're able to articulate really well, let me tell you why this is the best degree possible that I could have gotten, how I handpicked my classes to be perfectly prepared for this job. It all led to this this moment in my life, right? You're kind of weaving that great narrative. You're going to do great. But if you freeze up and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do that degree? I have no idea why I'm even sitting here right now. They're going to see that too. So it really, in my opinion, depends on how you're able to present it to employers. But yeah, I think both online and, like interdisciplinary studies or liberal arts options, you can definitely sell yourself to employers with those.
Yeah, and I think the same principle applies to this question of liberty, because if you say, yeah, I'm really proud of my liberty degree, it was a great degree, I was challenged, I really enjoyed it, I'm so glad I went there, employers are going to catch onto that energy and they're going to just believe you because they have no idea what Liberty University is. On the other hand, if you're like, oh, I went to Liberty and I hated it, it wasn't that great of an experience, and you're telling people about that, like basically the worst thing you can do in a job interview is start talking yourself and your degrees and your certifications down in front of the person that you want to have hire you. So it is a lot about how you sell it. But I will say Liberty is a conservative Christian institution. And so I would apply the 20-80 principle here. I would say that the center 80% of people aren't even going to care about your degree, where it's from, or anything. There might be 10% of people who see a Liberty degree and it's kind of a red flag for them. If you want to go and work for, I don't know, an organization that is supposed to be very like atheist and we're trying to spread atheism, or they really don't like conservative Christian values and they see Liberty, that might leave a bad taste in their mouth. You can still overcome that. On the other hand, if you're wanting to work in a church or ministry of some sort, especially in the American South, a Liberty degree will probably actually be a little bit of a bump for you, because there's name recognition. Exactly. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Really, it's about how you sell it, and 80% of people aren't going to care. A bunch of words here. I'm going to you for my consultation. I'm happy I found your channel. God bless you. Thank you so much for that super kind comment. Thanks for doing a consult with us. I just have a username here, so I don't know your actual name, but I hope it was a great meeting. And if anybody else would like to sign up for one, we do consults that are, usually around an hour long, and we help people graduate college quickly and inexpensively so they can build careers that they love. And we would be happy to help you do that as well.
Easiest question we've answered all session.
Yeah. Yeah, I just picked it because it made us look good. Mohammed FZL 4892. I heard a lot of good things about WGU, but I don't like the proctor part. I heard it's pretty disturbing and annoying. I've been doing research on online universities, but no luck yet. And that is a problem that a lot of people have with WGU. Their proctoring system is bad. The people who run it typically don't speak English very well. And because WGU doesn't allow international students, only American U.S. citizens or people living in the States, most of those people speak English pretty well, and so they're talking with these other folks that don't speak English super well, and it's usually a little bit of a mess. The proctoring system, you have to log in at weird times, you have to go through a bunch of hoops. I think it's a little bit janky, the whole process, from what I've heard. So if you don't want that kind of hassle, a good alternative might be, I believe that Purdue Global University has a little bit smoother of a system, and I know UMPI tends to be more project-based than exam-based. So if you're looking for competency-based education where you pay that subscription fee and then do as many classes as possible in a time period, one of those schools might be a good alternative to WGU. Drew2633, this all sounds awesome. However, I do have a question that someone here can answer. Let's say I test out of and get a degree through Excelsior or Thomas Edison. What does that mean for GPA? And then a follow-up question for you. Well, we'll get to that in a second. What does this mean for GPA? First off, anything that you test out of and send to the school does not affect your GPA. All that matters is the classes you take at the school. So if you test out of 90 credits and take 30 credits at Thomas Edison, whatever the GPA of those 30 credits was, that's the GPA you get. The question for Lauren, do employers care about your GPA or only that you have a degree?
It's a hard no. The employers of this country especially do not care about GPA by and large. So of course, like Cliff said earlier, there's probably an 80-20 rule, maybe even less, maybe it's 90-10, where maybe some jobs care about GPA, but I have never in 10 years of career coaching run into a job or helped someone prepare for a job interview where GPA was actually asked about or cared about. So especially now as we move more to competency-based hiring, which we're seeing as a huge shift in the market right now, people are caring less and less about where you got your degree, what your major was, what your GPA was. All that's kind of out the window. Now it's sort of like, check the box. Do you have a degree? And then also, what can you do for us? What can you bring to the table? So yeah.
Yeah, and I'll follow up. Like, as an employer myself, I run a small delivery company. I get a lot of applicants. I do a lot of interviews. I've never once cared about or asked a person like what their GPA was in high school, because usually it's people who just have a high school degree who are interviewing with me. I've never once cared. All I care about is, can you deliver the packages and get them to where they're going? Yeah, so I really wouldn't sweat it. And a good rule of thumb, I think, is that if your GPA is really good, put it on your resume. Who knows? Somebody might be impressed. If your GPA is really bad, don't put it on your resume. Just say you graduated, and that's all that anybody's going to care about.
That's right.
Next question we have here is from Isaac Awad 368. I'm not good at biology. I'm using Modern States, which, if you guys don't know, Modern States is a trust fund supported nonprofit that gives free CLEP study resources. And if you pass their study resources, you also get your CLEP test paid for. So use them, modernstates.org. He said, and I actually talk about it in this video, but I'm really scared that they don't go through everything I need to know. So he's worried that Modern States isn't good enough. He says, I'm not just asking to pass, I'm talking about at least getting a 65 out of 80. So he wants a high score in his CLEP. He said, sorry if my question is stupid, it's my third language. Nope. Your English is awesome. Your English is better than my second or third language, of which I don't have any. He says, does Modern States teach me everything with all the details I need to get a good score? If not, what should I do? And I think this question is probably a little bit more for me. But first off, unless your school is requiring you to get a specific score, don't worry about the 65 out of 80, which is equivalent to maybe like getting 80% or 90% on a final exam in a college course, because you're just putting in work for nothing. You're not going to get anything out of that. You don't get more credits, especially with biology. With Spanish, if you get a higher score, or German or French, you get more credits at some schools, but you really are putting work in for nothing, and you should just be focusing on passing. It's not even going to affect your GPA. Now, if your school says, hey, we need to see 65 out of 80, good gosh, you got to do 65 out of 80. But from everything that I've seen as far as Modern States being a prep for this, I never like to trust just one study resource. If I was going to trust just one study resource, it would be Modern States. But you can definitely add things like using Peterson's practice CLEP tests. You can use Speedy Prep flashcards, and then read a book on the subject. Or if there's something that you don't know or that shows up on a practice test that you didn't feel like you were prepared for, that's a great time to Google it and be taking notes on those things. Wikipedia is an undervalued study resource for CLEP studying, and there's a lot of other free sources out there that you can use. So you don't have to not feel confident, but from everything I've seen, Modern States does a really good job. I was actually talking to the director of their program a few months back, and he let me know that at one point they had a bunch of kids from Brooklyn who were in high school take a Modern States course, and then they all went and took the CLEP afterwards. 95% of them passed. Now, that is 5% who did not pass, but 95% passing after using your study resource, good golly, that is really good. Mm-hmm. So I personally don't have a reason to not trust Modern States. I would really encourage you to have some faith in them. But if you're needing a 65 out of 80, nobody's really measured for that, because not very few people have to go for that. And so, buckle down and grab some of those other study resources that I was mentioning. Tekamaki asks our final question here, okay? What happens if you fail your classes and plan to transfer to one of those online colleges? Would it be harder to get in, or would you be instantly rejected?
Well, if we're talking about failing a CLEP or DSST or a SOFIA or something like that, a hackable credit, then no worries, because those don't transfer. So there's no, the school's not going to see a record of that or care about that. Yeah. If we're talking about prior college credits that you failed, it may add some complexity to your application process, where maybe you need to write a letter explaining what happened and how it won't happen again. We see that sometimes, but it certainly doesn't mean you're going to be instantly rejected.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the college that you apply to, too. Some are going to have different policies, but most of the online colleges that I talk about have somewhere between like a 95 and a 99% acceptance rate. They're not turning their noses up at very many people. Typically, the people who have a really hard time getting into a school are people who already failed a class at that school. At the same time, they might say, look, your GPA is pretty low, but if you go ahead and take some classes on the side without being officially accepted into a degree plan, like you're just a part-time student taking classes for yourself, and then you bring a GPA up after a semester or two, then we'll consider bringing you into the program, and they usually have a cutoff of like a 2.0 GPA that they want to see before they do something like that. So there are other ways to go about it. It's just going to take a little bit of research and actually doing some of that transferring. Just remember, transferring credits to a school costs usually like $50 and takes almost no work on your part. So it is well worth it to feel out which school is going to be the most accepting of your situation.
Also, public service announcement. If you're going to fail your courses, withdraw.
Yeah, that is a good point. Don't wait until week 8 or the last week of the semester to be like, oh gosh, I am not passing this class. In week 7 or the week before, just withdraw from the course, and then it shouldn't affect your GPA. And most online colleges have some kind of option where you can do that. So, Lauren, thanks very much for being on.
Thanks for having me, Cliff.
And if you guys are wanting to do a consultation with College Hacked, you'll be able to meet with one of us, and we'd love to help you out, help you graduate college quickly and inexpensively so you can build a career that you love. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below, and happy hacking.